All right, stream is live. Welcome to the Multiverse Fundraiser, the afternoon hours. I am Carlin Stewart, your afternoon host for the 12 o'clock show on the Collectors Panel. And we are going to bring in our following guests. I am a longtime Uber geek, having run multiple conventions in my life. So let's bring in the first guest.
Hi, good afternoon.
Fred, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Frederick Keir. I live just outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I collect all kinds of science fiction stuff, but probably my favorite collections are my Lego collection, particularly my Star Wars Legos, and I also I'm addicted to making costumes. So thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. And I think we got Charlie coming in. All right, there's Charlie.
Hey, how are you? Good afternoon. Charlie Carden from just outside Grand Rapids, Michigan. Uber Geek, I run a podcast network called Secret Friends Unite. Check us out. One of the shows we do is Star Trek. That's my big passion. But my other big one is collecting figures, Star Trek Black Series, Marvel Legends, the G.I. Joe Classified series. So, yeah, unfortunately, I have this wonderful space to not only record in, but also have a spot for all of these. So, yeah, glad to be here.
Well, are you guys ready to delve into maintenance and psychological therapy on maintaining your collection?
I am a psychologist, by the way, so maybe I should start a group on that or something. That's not a bad idea.
Well, when we get to the show and tell section, Fred, you'll see a couple where you're like, I wonder what that clutter means about Carlin.
I've got no clutter at all, as you can see here.
Right. No, everything here is very organized, I swear.
All right. So, guys, since we've done the intro, collecting and growing your collection. So how did you start your collection? So like what did little Charlie and what did little Fred first get latched into? Because that's where the kernel starts, that's the seed.
Right.
And then you got to go from there. Because after that, it becomes a matter of management and control.
Right.
Spot on. I could go ahead and start. I think probably, the big influence in any kid born in the late 60s, early 70s was, and I was 6 years old when my dad took me to see Star Wars and kept having to tell me to sit down during the trench run scene because I kept hopping on the seat and jumping up and down. But I think for Legos, it was Christmas of 1978. And Lego, of course, they didn't have Star Wars Lego back then, but they started Lego Space. And I still have it here. This is the Galaxy Explorer.
Oh, sweet.
And
Benny!
This was
Benny from Lego Movie, right?
Yes. Well, I'll get to that in a second because I love the Lego Movie. And a very specific thing about the Lego Movie that I just found when they showed it, I just went, wow, these folks really know Lego. This, I believe, was set number 497, so 3 digits, so it's old. Again, Christmas 1978, I opened this thing up, and man, I was running down to the basement. I couldn't wait to get this thing put together. I mean, it was just amazing, and I was hooked. I mean, they came out with more sets, obviously, and I had a huge Lego collection.
Lego's a gateway drug. I mean,
they get addicted early.
Yeah. Us Gen X kids can't get away from that. There's no doubt about it.
It's like candy cigarettes,
Those two specifically, yeah.
Guys, my daughter turns 17 next week. We're taking her to a Lego party. Ding, ding, ding.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Dad's happy too,
Never die. It never dies out.
Charlie, what was the first thing that grabbed you, man?
Well, I'm a bicentennial baby. I was born in 1976. So I missed Star Wars properly, but I did sit in the theater for The Empire Strikes Back in the summer of 1980. I was 4 with my dad and my brother. Don't remember anything about the film because I was 4 years old. But by that point, it had been 1978 since those figures started to proliferate from the first film. So those found their way in. I think it was that Christmas I got the Millennium Falcon, the classic one, for Christmas. It was Christmas down in Florida with my parents. Either the next year or the year after that, I had gotten into G.I. Joe, which is another piece of my collection kind of over my shoulder. Can't quite. Yeah, you can see it. If I duck, you can see it. Top row there. The newer version of it. It got the G.I. Joe headquarters, and I balanced between the two of those. He-Man snuck in there, Transformers a little bit. And I probably collected way longer than most teenagers do, but eventually it died off. And all of those things kind of disappeared. I gave some to my kids as they were young. But I got back into collecting. It was a divorce that let me get back into collecting because my ex-wife absolutely hated this stuff. There was no chance I was going to have a space for my own to collect anything. So when I was on my own, I branched out. And when I got married again, my new wife, April, loves this stuff. She's like, you don't have to stick it in the basement. You have it up here. I don't care.
You had to rediscover yourself then.
I did.
Come on, Fred. I'm trying to help you here.
I hear you.
He had to rediscover himself.
Right. So I got to admire from afar, and then I got to throw myself into this and recording our podcast as I have for many years. It's only in the last couple of years that I've had this space down here that I branched out, and just for the nice benefit of having a background, I've got all of this stuff, and it does wrap around this entire room. So I get to enjoy it.
Cool. Very cool. Well, for myself, I'm apparently a little bit older than both of you, but I remember being 3 years old and my parents waking me up for the moon landing. So I still have, it's behind me on the floor because I don't have room to hang it right now, but it is the original 3 Apollo 11 astronauts that went to the moon. So that's where mine started. And I've got a couple pictures in when we do the show and tell that will reflect a little of that. So when I was a kid in the, say, early 70s, Star Trek was in reruns. So all of my starships need to have sleek body shells. Do I like Star Wars? Yes. But I will always look at a starship and go, it needs to be sleek and smooth.
Yeah, give me nacelles and saucers. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of where mine began. And plus, I'm a big reader. I got like 22 bookcases in the house. And and of course, Scholastic books. Who didn't get Scholastic books? If you didn't, okay. Armageddon 2419. That is the original Buck Rogers story. Okay. That one, I read it and I was in. So anyway, that's kind of where I started. One of the things I want to talk about, but we can also probably really talk about it when we do some of our show and tell, is and you just actually held one up, Fred. that Lego you've got, it's probably got a couple bucks on it because those aren't made anymore.
Oh yeah.
So as we go through our collections, there are things where it's like, you may not know how much that's really worth, because that's something I actually deal with, having run a convention group for 20 years. I got more crap in my house than I need. And I have told my wife and my daughter repeatedly, inventory this house with a fine comb, because I still have my original flashlight lightsaber with the yellow plastic inflatable tube. The last time I looked, I don't have the original hang thing it was on, but last time I looked, it's like $1,000 for a flashlight. If they didn't know that that's worth $1,000, they'd probably sell it for $5.
It's all collecting is about scarcity. It's the same thing with comics, as I'm sure you know. You remember the great comic failure of the 90s, people saying, well, I'm going to buy all these comics and send my kids to college, all these Image comics, you know what I mean? And market flooded, supply and demand. Without the demand, there's no interest.
It was the tulip crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Several centuries ago, there was a tulip crash. Tulips went like $1,000 a bulb.
Oh boy!
Or the equivalent of $1,000 a bulb, and then the market crashed, and people wondered why they paid so much for a tulip.
Exact same thing. Yeah, you bet.
But yeah, same thing. I'm a CPA, by the way, so I dig that kind of crap.
So we have a psychologist and a CPA, and I'm a salesman. If you can't tell.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a bar joke in here somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Now, okay, you and I are meeting each other really for the first time, but you know what? This panel is actually networking for us. I mean, at some point, you guys are going to go, you may see something and email me later going, hey, I just saw this. You might want to take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the networking and the ethics of the collecting market.
I'll jump in. Through social media within the last 5 or 6 years, some key groups we have here in Michigan, but because of the nature of my job, I'm on the road, and I'm in and out of your big box retailers, your Targets, your Walmarts, your Meijer, which is a store we have here in the Midwest, GameStop, whatever it is. And I will share images. Hey, it looks like a case of, the latest Black Series just came in at this Target in this place. And you get the occasional people said, hey man, why did you pick one up for me? I'm like, hey dude, I don't know you. Why would I do something like that? But I have one very specific buddy who I always bird dog for. I was out doing it yesterday, sending him a couple pictures when I stopped at a GameStop. I'm like, are you looking for this? And he has a membership to Hasbro Pulse Premium, which is free shipping. So anytime I want something, he gets it for me, and we trade that way. So symbiosis, I think, is the basis of any kind of partnership, and having somebody that you work with this kind of stuff.
And you've really got to have those relationships, because I took a photo of one of these of this a minute ago, but there's a brand new Hot Wheels that is a reproduction of the car from Action Comics #1.
Ooh, I saw that.
Wow.
Saw that recently. Yeah, I think I saw it online, but I haven't seen it in the flat.
I can't find that one locally. And a friend on a collector network had an extra out in California. So I got he sold it to me for cost. So
nice.
It was cost plus shipping. And George, can you drop the image so I can see? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I couldn't see Charlie.
I'm still here. I promise.
Charlie was wiped out.
It didn't erase me.
But the fact is that you've got to have these relationships in place. Because, I mean, I was joking. I was halfway joking about, if I died. But the fact is you don't want your family to get ripped off. And you don't want to see some younger collector getting ripped off, too. I mean, somebody comes in with, let's say a movie poster for the 1966 Batman movie.
Sure.
Okay, how much would that be worth? I don't even know, but it's probably $1,000+ easy, right?
Yeah, like original one sheet from a theater, that kind of thing.
Yes, and if somebody offered this guy $100, I think we're ethically bound as a fellow collector to jump in and go, "Hey, dude, do not take that. I'll give you $600 for it right now," and that's low.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think, particularly I know from the Lego angle, I think a lot of folks now are pretty savvy about it. There's been a lot of high-profile articles about how Lego sets are outperforming the stock market in terms of increase in value over time.
Well, they're more fun, aren't they? I mean,
And I think, at least for me, there's this you have some collectors who will just buy sets and keep them in the box. I can't do that. I don't have the willpower. I got to build the damn thing.
I bought two.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have some fun with this, and I think it's the value of the collection is important, but I think having why do it if you can't? The whole purpose is to have fun with it.
That's another thing. I've got a couple Buzz Lightyears laying around the house because I liked Buzz Lightyear when it came out, but Buzz Lightyear's been remade so many times that
right.
They are not. I mean, okay, you make a collection because you enjoy it.
Right.
And you need to curate it. You guys have really nice backgrounds with, nice shelves. And I'm sure if we walked up and started looking at a couple shelves, we could nitpick some clutter on your shelf.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
But the fact is that I've always referred to, and this is one of the reasons I love doing this panel, I've always referred to having a collection as to having a well manicured yard. You don't want a crazy hedgerow. You want your hedgerow nicely trimmed because people are driving by and it's like, oh, what a nicely manicured hedgerow. And there's a little gate and there's a tree and some flowers and it all looks nice. But if you've got, bramble bushes going out of it, that's because, oops, like Carlin, and I'm guilty of this, and we'll show it because I took some photos to kind of show this.
Yeah.
I have collected, partly because I was in the convention scene, I collected a little bit of everything. And as a result, sometimes I don't have the proper display that I probably should. So, you guys want to talk about the hedgerow effect and maintaining and controlling the direction of your collection?
Yeah, I'll give it a stab because that's a great example. Actually, this upcoming weekend, and I used to do this. I had a friend, somebody who I don't really stay in touch with anymore. She was going through a divorce, had a massive collection of Legos that her ex-husband stockpiled, and in the divorce, she got 50%. So I helped her price, and for a long time, I helped her sell. And that kind of got the bug into me that I'm a sales guy. I love to sell. So I took on a collection of some of the Black Series figures, some that are Star Wars Black Series figures, some that are fairly of low value, but some that were a little bit better. And I started working these toy shows myself. And my wife, April, ended up joining me. And we do 4 or 5 shows a year. We have a small local one coming up. And anytime I'm getting on, I'm looking right now at a couple of cards, bubble cards that I'd saved, because I got a new version of Obi-Wan Kenobi as a ghost, or Yoda as a ghost. And so if I've got an old version, that one goes in a bag and it goes in my little store.
The same mold, just make it with clear plastic.
Exactly. Precisely correct. So, but if I'm I started, great example I added to my Amazon list this week. There's a new version of Episode 4, Luke and Leia, coming out in this next wave of the Black Series in Q1 that have beautiful new sculpts. Well, I have the original ones from 2013 and they're pretty ugly. Those will probably go into the store and maybe they'll sell them, maybe they won't. Somebody eventually may pick them up. And so in the grand scheme of things, I put that money back into the collection. I'm always selling. I don't really do a lot of duplicates. I have a whole shelf of Luke because Luke is my favorite character, but I don't buy 50 versions of Iron Man, for example, or, I do buy 50 versions of Spider-Man. You can see it directly over my shoulder because he's my favorite comic book character. But I do have rules around what I collect. Otherwise, I'd be up to my shoulders and stuff.
I'm in the same boat.
This doesn't necessarily apply to science fiction fantasy convention, but as far as a rule, and it's probably one of the best rules I set. My wife and I have a fairly large Snow Village collection from Department 56. Mm-hmm. I created I literally created a building vision. It was like I became, it's like I became a city approval department. And so I have a town and I have the country. And if it doesn't fit these two areas, I do not buy it.
Right.
Because you could buy way too many things. They had one. It's like 1 year they had when I worked at Liberty Land, which was a local theme park as a child, mm-hmm. and they had a merry-go-round. So I buy the merry-go-round because it speaks to me, right? Mm-hmm. So the merry-go-round's in kind of the downtown of my little city, and it fits. But then later they come out with some sort of Chinese restaurant. Well, the Chinese restaurant to me was gaudy. It didn't fit. But there's somebody out there that has a Chinese grandmother. Mm-hmm. That's going to evoke a memory. So that's okay in theirs. It fits their rules. So, and you got to walk around the house sometimes and go, I've got something very similar to that. I don't need another one.
Right. I have one more little anecdote. I have a pretty major rule with the Marvel Legends figures. That line's been around for about 12 years. When the MCU got big, every one of those MCU characters got a figure. Every single solitary one of them. Well, I've been a Marvel Comics reader since 1982 with Star Wars, 1986 with Spider-Man. I'm a comic book guy. My rule is I stick with just the comic book versions of stuff, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy and the stuff from the Captain America movies, because those were my two favorites.
Okay.
Other than that, the rest of the stuff comes along. It's an instant pass. So there's a Thanos from the movie, and there's a Thanos from the comics, and that's the one that I've got.
Now I have a few Funko Pops, primarily that have been given to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Iron Man guy. You're the Spider-Man guy, so I do have a Funko Pop Iron Man or two.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
And I'm looking right at them. I consider Funko Pops to kind of be that's the heroine of the whole thing. Pardon my use of the expression. They're too dangerous because there are 100,000 of them, and if you get into one, you're right. It's going to turn into Beanie Babies or Pokemon or whatever. So yes, there are a few around this house. There are a few in this room. There's some up in the living room, but it's got to be so sparingly. But like I bought Biz Markie because I'm a huge Golden Age of Rap fan, or I bought the Kool-Aid Man because he's one of my favorite iconic characters. You know what I mean? But you don't really, you don't really find stuff like that in other formats. So for $11, $12 or basically $5 on clearance, if you always keep an eye on GameStop, which I always do, because these marketers think we'll produce this, it'll be a big seller, nobody buys it, and then you can get it for like BOGO, and it's $5 to start with clearance.
And that's a good point because, okay, and Fred, do you collect Funkos or not?
No.
Okay. So see,
I have a couple, but
none of us are collecting Funkos, and there are people that collect a lot of Funkos, and I'm not offending anyone that collects them. Please don't come at me. But the fact is that, like you just said with the Kool-Aid Man, that spoke to your inner child, and you're like, I'm going to make an exception there.
Mm-hmm.
But as a general rule, you got to focus your collection so that it becomes nice and honed.
Right. Well, that makes sense. It's thematic. You know what I mean? And I have somewhat of a theme going on behind me, like what you can see directly over my shoulder. Spider-Man ends up on the top, and there are other Spider-Man that are hanging from webs from the ceiling.
We have a comment from Crayley here. Can you? Yeah, thank you. So that's me with Sailor Venus. I like to have a whole set of Sailor Moon Scouts for some sets, but if I won't get the whole set, I'm allowed to get just Venus. Okay.
Allowed. I like allowed because it's a matter of somebody else is allowing you to, or you're letting yourself do it. I didn't make any. April didn't make any rules for me, but I made the rules for myself because again, you run way too much of a risk of things getting out of control.
Yeah. So when I started collecting Star Wars Legos, I mean, they'd have single-digit number of sets per season. Now they're in double digits, and it's just there's no way I can keep up with that.
I used to collect the X-Men comics until the late 1990s hit, because they literally came out with like an X-Men comic every week,
right?
And they were mandating that there was some sort of interconnection between them.
Yeah,
and it might even be just 3 cells on a page,
right,
or 3 panels on a page, and it got insane.
Yeah,
and it got so bad that I stopped collecting all X-Men. I still collect Marvel, but they killed it for me.
At least back then, the comics were $1.25.
Yeah.
And comics, as a quick sidebar, if you still enjoy Marvel Comics, I've had the Marvel Unlimited subscription for about 12 years now. That is their Netflix model of comics. Everything largely unlicensed that they've ever published will find its way there. Over 30,000 comics that are on demand. So if you've never done it, hit me up. I'll be happy to refer you over because it's worth every nickel.
Okay. Well, we're coming up on the halfway mark, and I know we need to do our show and tell. So let me just kind of give a quick rundown because I'm looking at my outline that I made out for us. As we go through our pictures and do our story show and tell, I want to make sure that we address preservation tips and maintenance. And then just things about, as we talk about stuff, how you properly display. So, George, if you could launch the promo for the Comics for Kids so that we can raise some money for our charity and get comic books for kids into the hospitals. That would be great. And then we're going to launch into our show and tell and keep talking about the management concerns we have in the background.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is a virtual con-a-thon and a charity fundraiser all rolled into one package. This year, we've teamed up with Comic Books for Kids to raise funds for their cause. Comic Books for Kids is a charity that provides child-friendly comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. On January 24th through 26th, we'll be providing both pre-recorded and live Comic-Con style content to include celebrity, comic, and writing guests that include Creek Wilson, Jeremy Lee, Leah Williams, Jerry Gaylord, R.J. Conti, John Cosper, and Dean Hill. Visit www.themultiversefundraiser.com for more information and instructions on how to both tune in and contribute. Remember, we're not just raising funds for a good cause. We're raising fun.
Raising fun.
Raising fun. Better than raising the other thing.
Toys we shouldn't be buying.
Yeah, right. It's not a matter of shoulda, it's a matter of coulda. Or the other way around. I'm not sure.
So, hey, George, I think you said I was queued up first for the pictures. So if you'll just throw them up, I'll just start talking and the guys can pitch in. Okay. Now this is actually in my den. Actually, I pretty much took every photo except maybe one or two in one room of the house. So this is the matter of the concentration of how cluttered things are in the house. But this is actually well presented. It's on one of the shelves in the corner. I have my 1989 Hot Wheels Batman that I got at the Batmobile that I got at Sharper Image when they were open. And right behind it is one of my original 1960s collector Batman plates. And it's nicely displayed next to a piece of pottery that a friend of ours made and we picked up in an auction. So we are intermixing normal life with the hobby of collectibles. Next image, please. And right here, you'll see part of a bookcase where I have a Flash Gordon and a Ming statuary that have long since been out of production. And in between it, oh, look, there's the Hall of Justice Hallmark ornament. And yes, the batteries are still good. It works. But you can see it sitting on the shelf along with my aging collection of National Geographics. And and actually, if you look right down in the right-hand corner, Isaac Asimov. So there's apparently one of my compendiums of probably the best of for a year down there in the bookcase. So anyway, let's go to the next image. Now, this I actually recently picked up. Do you guys remember the oversized treasuries?
From DC, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had never seen this one. And it came in my comic shop, bought a collection and they had it. And I snapped it up immediately. The artwork's incredible on the inside.
Yeah.
I should have gone and grabbed it, opened it up, because I can't remember for the life of me who did the artwork on it. But of course, they have them for all the heroes. I just had never seen the one that was for the Bible.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, but you'll notice that it's got oversized acid-free cardboard behind it. And it's in one of the larger magazine sleeves that is made specifically to hold those treasuries. So, I'm gonna read it, but I'm gonna preserve it. Then right here we've got this. This is one. Okay, I've got a story here. So one of my friends runs pretty much a horror collection and does auctions on the weekends, but he came across this and popped this up in the middle of his auction. And I got it for a fairly low amount of money, but only after a couple of the guys on the broadcast bid me up a few bucks just to have fun. But this is an original lobby card from a Spanish movie theater that used to be in the local area. So this thing got dropped in a box. It is an original. It's over 80 years old.
Wow.
And so I immediately turned around and got it framed so I could protect it for another lifetime. But obviously, I like some of the retro stuff. I'm a sci-fi guy all the way. Thank you, Moon Landings. But you're going to see, you just saw one piece of Flash Gordon. Now you're seeing another piece of Flash Gordon. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, look, there's another bookcase.
My goodness.
With a ton of Flash Gordons. And if you'll notice, the Flash Gordon with the white aging paper, that's one of the original reprints of the original cartoon newspaper strip series. That was put out, I mean, literally like in the 30s. Or maybe, so anyway, that one's got some age to it. But you'll also notice that on that, a lot of those things were polybagged for their protection on the back side there. So let's go to the next slide. And hey, Fred, what's this clutter say about me?
Water pistol. Oh, that's a Star Trek: The Motion Picture water pistol.
Yeah. So in this one picture, okay, off to the left, that is a Charlie Perry sculpted Lord of the Rings elven bowl, or I should say urn. And then you see a Hot Wheels Enterprise. There's a Gru vehicle Enterprise. Oh, and I see the Hot Wheels reproduction of the actually that's Johnny Lightning. They did a reproduction of the Blues Brothers, the police car with the underneath that with the little yellow snaps is a leather collapsible dice bowl that I use periodically. And for Christmas, I was given Starro the Conqueror.
Nice.
So you see even more Flash Gordon, and these are the original Captain Actions. I was fortunate to find them in the boxes. And as Fred noticed, it's like, oh, he has that original water pistol. Yeah. So if that disappears,
That's
I'm
awesome.
looking for you, Fred.
Yeah.
No, actually, to be honest, what I'm really slobbering over is I believe that's Apollo autographed
Battlestar
Galactica figure.
It is that is an autographed figure.
The late Richard Hatch. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
Yes.
yeah.
And then
The original, the best, in my opinion.
And then the little Superman die-cast figure. I got that at a little comic shop driving through Middle Tennessee. I got it for $5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you look off to the right, beside Ming the Merciless, those little sunglasses that are those little glasses that are still in the plastic. They're not just glasses. They're Clark Kent bottle opener glasses.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Never heard of it.
I could not bring myself to open it and use them because I do have other bottle openers. And I just think it is so crazy that they made bottle cap openers like for a beer out of the glasses for Clark Kent. And the gold case across the top is a local friend of mine who has a woodworking shop. When Harry Potter was big, he would mill and make all the different wands. So I have a customized wand with my initials in there. And oh gosh, and even as I look at this, behind that there is a Galaxy Enterprise.
Yep, Galaxy
leaning on the side.
Right. Is that
there's also a ceramic Wonder Woman thing. Oh, and there's a can of Duff beer.
I see it. Very Duff Man says a lot of things.
Duff Man.
You can use it was a bottle. You could use the Clark Kent glasses to open the Duff bottle.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
that's a pairing.
So this is by no means organized or any form of clutter.
Right.
And I left it this way specifically for the photo. But clearly I have more than enough stuff to form a very nice Flash Gordon corner.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And you can also see just from this one shot that I probably am collecting way too many things. I constantly fight to refine my collection. So let's go to the next slide, George. And this, okay, it's another comic, but this is the first appearance in the back. In the back of this one is the first appearance in Pacific Comics of the Rocketeer.
Awesome.
So that's why that one's in my collection. And so periodically, as a collector, and you guys know this, the first appearances of certain characters that are incredibly popular never occur in issue 1. They occur as a backup story somewhere. And you're only going to know that if you're hanging out with guys like us.
Mm-hmm.
So, George, next slide. Hallmark ornament, Superman, got to have it. And actually, that one's a really nice one. I like the way they did that. Charlie, you had mentioned the things about sculpts.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. It is so incredibly important when it comes to that. I mean, like NECA. NECA is really well known for doing
absolutely.
Good sculpts.
Yep. High-end stuff.
That's something that people don't, I mean, the general public, they don't even think about, and they don't understand it, that if they, if you and I see a figure and it's made by, some production company over in China, if they're doing a Superman, but then you got a NECA Superman, which one are you going to grab?
Well, I mean, and they really drilled down a lot. Like there's been a Chris Reeve Superman that I think McFarlane recently dropped. McFarlane's got a great rep for doing that kind of stuff. But, with, things that are based around films, like, as I said, over my shoulder, you see all the Star Wars Black Series. The first sculpt, the one that maybe came out 10, 12 years ago when the line started, is vastly inferior to the new kind of scan technology that they're using, so that you get a Luke Skywalker that looks like Mark Hamill, or you get, Mandalorian take his helmet off and it looks like Pedro Pascal, so that's more meaningful to people like us, as opposed to, as you said, the general public that buys a Funko Pop and they're like, oh, look, it's Luke Skywalker, yippee, he's got big black eyes and a giant head, because that's what all Funko Pops look like.
Right.
And it's good enough.
George, let me blast through the last of my pictures so I can get back to these guys and let them show off.
The bee. I've got that one too.
The bee. Yeah. And that was a nice ornament this year on the tree. Let's go to the next one.
By your command.
And it has the it has the
thermos. Nice.
Love
sweet.
it.
And then the next one.
Another
Martin Landau.
This is from Christmas.
When I was a kid, I used to have
my
the
wife
Eagle
and
toy.
daughter found that for me.
Wow.
Again, I have now inadvertently started a lunchbox collection, not by my own.
It found you, as opposed to the other way around. Yeah,
because your people that know you, they realize that, well, I can't just buy him this figure, this action figure, because I don't know if he's got it or not. But then she sees that and she's like, I know he doesn't have that lunchbox from his childhood.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I think I've got 5 or 6 different lunchboxes now.
Yeah. I have a Spider-Verse one that popped up just recently that, it's a Spider-Man one. So I like it, and it's in one of these little cubicles that you see on the kind of the far end of opposite of where I am right now.
Let's do the next one.
Hold on. I apologize because I'm a bit verklempt here, because I actually had this lunchbox when I was a kid.
Oh, man. Nice.
Sorry. I had also the Eagle toy. It was like one of my favorites. And
the big one or the big one?
The big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate you.
Yeah, well, I wasn't able to save it. I had a evil half siblings that destroyed a lot of my stuff from when I was a kid.
That's what happened with my kids with the old GI Joe stuff. But I mean, they're kids. They're my kids.
Yeah.
I guess I love them. I guess.
Now, I mentioned the moon landings.
Oh wow!
These are orange glasses that were put out by Esso gas stations in the 60s and into the 70s.
Stuff. Love it.
Beautiful.
It took me a little while to track them all down, and then of course I happened to right there is a Planet of the Apes one, and then I didn't have room, I didn't have a place for it, but the Apollo coffee mug is an original issue from when they had the anniversary. And when the moon landings were going on, liquor decanters were getting kind of cool, and I managed to, and I still got that one. So it's that one's only this thing's only worth about $50 or something, but you couldn't drag it out of my hand if you offered
Right.
me
What?
I'd tell you no.
It's fantastic. Absolutely. Why would anyone want to give up something like that?
So okay, now here show the other mantle shot. There we go. Okay, so here we go with a mantle shot. So on the wall, you'll see the ceramic alien crashed into the wall, which is it was something kind of cool and funky that I picked up at a convention. But you'll see that I've got 3 Superman items right up there, and then there's a nice little metal sculpture sitting up on the mantle. But you'll also notice the Christmas trees. Okay, so the mantle's still decorated at this point for Christmas. So I was given the glass. I was given the Superman pint glass, and because of the other decorations, I didn't have a place to put it. So suddenly, my collection got cluttered. Because if you go back to the other mantle photo, that one, that's what it should be looking like. I've got my little plastic Superman there, and it's a little Japanese thing that I actually think I got it in an auction. I don't think I would not have bought that on my own. It was like a charity auction I was at. And then behind that is plate number 3 from when they erected the Superman museum, the Superman statue in Metropolis. So, it's a matter, and then here's another issue of display. This is Kurt Busch's car from like 2004 when Warner Brothers was sponsoring him. So you got Superman on the hood, and you got a Superman collector coin I've got on top of it. But you'll also notice right behind it, I haven't found a room or place for the Space 1999 lunchbox yet. So it just kind of got stuck there. Now, where's
I have space for it.
I'll bet. Oh man.
And if you notice that orange thing, that's one of the Star Wars handguns.
Yeah, I have one of those. Yeah.
The little blasters that I've got to find a spot for. Now this is nicely displayed. I've got my nice wooden shuttle, and I've got my Warner Brothers Space Ghost that I picked up before they closed the physical stores.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sweet.
Love it.
And you notice it's properly displayed in a dome to keep it clean.
Right.
So now back to one of the other shelves. I still have my Star Trek phone.
I was gonna say it's a phone, isn't it?
It still works when it rings. It gives the red alert signal, which drove my wife crazy.
Oh, I'll bet.
And I found some those are keychains, but they're obviously Star Trek figures. So I just hung them off the nacelles because they were cool. And the moon sculpture is a 3D sculpture of a Vincent DeFate painting.
Oh, wow.
I met him at a convention and got him to sign the box.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
So anyway.
Nice.
And I think that was the end of mine. So let's go into your guys' stuff, and we can keep talking about how we protect and make these things look good. Oh, look at that! Nice.
This is what I call the bridge, or my happy place, or whatever you want to call it. And IKEA is your friend, I think, especially if you like glass enclosed shelving for prices that won't rob you blind. So most all of that is IKEA. I try to group it together. Like I have the TIE fighters up on the left there, and then the X-Wing is up to the right corner. And of course, I was inspired by Weird Al Yankovic's Light and Nerdy with the question of whether I liked Kirk or if I liked Picard. So I
nice.
My mother-in-law, who's a painter, paint that. So.
No, that's awesome. Because that's personal to you.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and I like that.
And probably the highlight of my collection there is right there in dead center is the Millennium Falcon, which is often considered to be sort of, there we go, the pinnacle, if you will.
The Grail,
the Grail,
time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I want to say it's 6,000 or 8,000 pieces. But it's That's why it's in the middle there. So, and I always keep the instruction manual, particularly for the what they call the Unlimited Collector series, which are the high-end Legos that are supposed to look like what they actually are, and some of them are the size of War and Peace.
Right. In the beginning.
Yeah. Next slide. I love Star Destroyers. I love starships.
Love the Ventnor.
I am like, it's my favorite version of all the Star Destroyers, and I was so happy when they brought out the UCS versions. I was so excited. But I love starships. I'm like Benny from the Lego movie. And so again, you talked about priorities, because right now there's just too many even Star Wars Lego sets for me to afford to buy. So I kind of focus on the ships. I'm all about spaceships.
Yeah.
But you can see
I'd rather have a ship than a character any day.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting when you get into Legos too, there's almost like two different markets. You have the whole minifigure market, which is a whole, some people just buy the sets just for the minifigures. I had a friend who bought their daughter the Dark Falcon set and at Target, and had to return it because somebody actually got into the box and just took the minifigure out.
Wow.
Target was cool. They gave her a new set, but still, it's like people are crazy with the minifigures.
Those pirate swaps are real big with fuller size figures too. It's terrible.
I also like the Lego City airplanes, so you'll see some of those in some of their space sets there. And my daughter was into Chima, so you might see a few of those there. Display here. I put the good guys, the X-Wings, over on this side, at least the top of this side. And you can also see some of my other. I collect all kinds of sci-fi. You can see the plate series for Star Trek there, kind of creeping in. So, Next slide.
Yeah. I like the coffee mug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a really valuable set. This was the UCS for the Naboo fighter with the R2 there. Those silverish kind of pieces, I don't think Lego really did much more of those for any other set, so it's considered to be quite valuable.
Nice.
And I do like to position them. You might have seen the Darth Maul fighting there. I like to position them and things. Yeah, see over there.
I have that back there with my Darth Maul and two Jedi.
Yeah, you gotta play with these things. They're toys, for crying out loud. These were some of the very first Star Wars Lego sets, and the X-Wing was the first one I got. And one of the things I love, and if you can turn off the slide real quick, I'll show you, is especially in these older ones. And I don't know if it can focus, but they even have Biggs here, and I don't know if you can see.
Is the mustache?
He's got the little fit.
He's got the mustache.
Yeah, and it's still like the old Lego style. Eyes are still close together. They're not like the new figures, so it's kind of cool. And the X-Wing is, I have it here, is gray, not white, and it's made sort of in a similar style to the old, Lego Space in terms of the gray. But anyway, back to the slides. I'm trying to hurry here because I know we're going to figure out. I've already seen that, so let's go to the next one. That. Yep. Is that it? Okay.
Okay, Charlie, go on.
All right, let's do it. Well, a lot of it you can see behind me, so this is a little closer. Whoops. It's there and it was gone. Yeah, this is what you see behind me. Yeah, this might be from about a year ago, so there have been tweaks and adds in this time. But I did full diorama along the top row with the GI Joe, but I now have the Hiss tank and I have the Dragonfly, which were the two HasLabs over the last couple of years. They're pretty spectacular stuff. So it continues to evolve. I did an interview earlier this week with a guy named Brian Volk Weiss, who is producing a new line of Star Trek figures in scale with the ones you see there, the Nacelle company, that should be out later this year. Couldn't be more excited, but that Star Trek shelf is going to get very jammed up. And a little tiny Indiana Jones collection. It was a line that was not successful, unfortunately. When the movie bombed, the line bombed too. But I got what I wanted out of it.
But you got your stuff, so
I was pretty sad. All right, next slide. This is just continuing to move around the corner. So I've taken my framed art that has just kind of been around both. It's interesting. Both the Enterprise E, which you see at the far right, and the Voyager, the cross sections, were actually produced in a town here in Michigan, in my hometown, Grosse Pointe, Michigan, over in Metro Detroit. That I actually went to their little shop on Mack Avenue and picked it up. It was just an office building. And if you're familiar with that part of Mack Avenue, if you happen to be a Detroiter, it's really weird, but it was a global thing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Those both survived getting soaked in a basement flood when they were not framed, and somehow they survived. So the other one is that is obviously, yeah, there we go. Yep, you can see it a little bit more clearly. The cap shield, yeah, the cap shield there is one of 3 that I have. I have a metallic triangular shield, and then I have the caps blue stealth shield.
And the GI Joe jet.
Yeah, I love how
Right.
Is that a 3D printed thing to hold that, or what?
No, that was another HasLab. That was a 3 3/4 scale, actually pretty much faithful reproduction of the 80s series. It's not there anymore. It's on the other side of me here because I had more stuff is proliferated. Those wire shelves that you have, I got a whole nother section of them subsequently to put more stuff out. So next slide. So a little bit further down, the Star Wars stuff, which is on the shelf, the gray shelf that you see to the left, started to proliferate because there was too much of it. So I made a promise when I bought those 5 plastic shelves, which I just got from Meijer. They were maybe $40 each. I said, I'll only have these 5 because if I just kept getting more, it would just be too out of control. But I was lucky by that point I had transitioned over here, so I got a little bit more space. You'll see that there's not too many of the X-Men because I took probably 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the X-Men I have and sold them off because X-Men is just not big for me. So I thought, why have it? The Battlestar figures are rare and not that easy to find, so I saved those. I'm not a big DC guy, but I do love the Lanterns, and I do have a Justice League right there, and that's about the size of it. Yes, Marvel Zombie all the time, all the way. I don't know if that's the last one. Did I do more? That one's not me. That's you.
Oh, that's me. Yeah, that's you see some of my figure collection there from mainly Star Trek.
The Playmates, yeah.
Yeah, the Playmates sets, and then
That's a
Playmobiles.
That's a really nice little Enterprise.
Oh, it's beautiful. I wish I could show you some of the features of it. If you haven't seen one,
I have that one.
Yeah, that's they did a spectacular job with that thing. That is just, I love that thing.
I had the original one from a couple decades back because it was on my groom's cake.
Yeah. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, and my wife was nice enough. She went out and found little earrings that were in the shape of the Enterprise communicators.
Oh,
and so she was wearing Star Trek earrings, and people were coming up with, "I love the design of your earrings," and we're just like,
"It's cool, good deal."
So anyway, guys, we're wrapping up on our panel. We've actually got about 3 minutes where we can chit chat.
Hey guys, actually, just pop in real quick here. Mark Weiss is here to say hi for comic books.
Mark, bring Mark in here. He's been watching us geek out. Hey, Mark. Oh, look, he's got his Batman stuff.
Hey there. Wow, very nice.
Yeah, Mark's in his man cave. Okay, Mark, show us something. We're doing show and tell. Grab something.
You're on, Mark, if you can hear us.
You can hear us.
Yeah, maybe he can. Okay. I just don't forget. Never mind.
All right. Well,
it was worth a try.
If you grab something off his Batman shelf, throw him back up. Anyway, this has been a great panel just talking with you guys. And we could sit around each other's house going, "Ooh, cool. Let's talk about that."
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we covered kind of like, how do you care for this stuff? How do you properly display it? I mean, like the NASCAR, I have it inside one of the little car cases. Where did I get it? I went over to the Container Store, picked one up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just got to figure out ways to keep things protected, whether it be framing or put it into a good poly bag with an acid-free backboard.
Yeah.
Proper shelf display. Actually, we didn't mention this, but I mean, if you look at like California, you better be bolting stuff to the walls because when they get a quake, you don't want your statuary falling.
you
No
know
doubt. No doubt.
If it's a plastic figure, big deal, you pick it up. But if it's a ceramic, maybe not.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Yeah. So, George, we are coming up on the 12:55 mark. Do you want us to do a wrap up here?
Yeah, if you want to plug the reason why we are here one more time.
We got a comic for kids to plug, and we're going to call it a day.
Oh, hang on, we'll play this one here. And so I'll play the outro video for you guys here, and we'll wrap up here. So thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. You got it.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
The Multiverse Fundraiser would like to thank our sponsors: Earth Dog Studios, Clobbern Comics, The Art of Brian Rodman, Studio Moonfall, Elusive Comics, and of course, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment Network for hosting this event. Learn how to support these businesses on the MVFR website.